Have you ever woken up from a dream so incredibly vivid, so long, and so emotionally exhausting that it feels like you just lived a second life overnight?
Oh, absolutely.
Right, like you open your eyes, stare at the ceiling, and your heart is just pounding against your ribs.
Yeah, and your brain is scrambling to process this cinematic multi-act epic.
Exactly, and somehow it all took place entirely inside your own head while you were just lying there in the dark.
Physically, you're totally safe in your bed.
Yeah, but mentally,
So mentally,
mentally you have just survived an absolute gauntlet.
it's wild, because you might feel this lingering sense of dread.
Or maybe a strange euphoric high.
Right, and you
Yeah.
carry those phantom emotions with you into the shower, into your morning commute.
Just wondering why a scenario that never actually happened is dictating your mood for the rest of the day.
Well, it's a profound sense of psychological disorientation,
Mhm.
and it happens because your nervous system, it doesn't necessarily differentiate between a highly rendered subconscious simulation and waking reality.
Wait, really? It just treats it like it actually happened.
Basically, yeah. While your body is paralyzed in REM sleep, your brain is firing on all cylinders.
Wow.
It's flooding your system with cortisol or dopamine based on this narrative it's writing in real time.
So you wake up carrying the heavy emotional weight of experiences, fear, elation, crushing regret, that possess no real-world anchor.
Exactly.
And most of the time, what do? We just shake it off.
Yeah, you get out of bed, make some coffee, maybe start your phone.
Right, and let the dream fade away into the background noise of the morning. We just dismiss it as our brains taking out the garbage.
But what if you didn't do that?
Exactly. What if you wrote it all down? Every single bizarre detail, every nonsensical transition, every agonizing emotion.
And then actually actively tried to decode it.
Which brings us to today.
Mm.
That is exactly the journey we are taking in this deep dive into the source material.
It's such a fascinating document we have today.
It really is. Today's source material is a highly detailed, deeply introspective dream journal entry paired with a psychological reflection written by the dreamer themselves.
And they didn't just record the events of their night.
No, they treated their own subconscious like this complex, high-stakes puzzle waiting to be solved.
It's a genuinely remarkable document to analyze. I mean, it reads less like a traditional diary and much more like a rigorous archaeological dig into the human mind.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. The author of this journal is actively excavating their own anxieties.
They're hidden coping mechanisms, too.
Right, and their deepest, most unarticulated desires for societal validation.
They're looking at the raw data of their own sleep and basically asking, well, what is my brain trying to warn me about?
Which sets up our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack this epic multi-act dream.
And it has an incredibly wild cast of characters.
Oh, totally. From Japanese celebrities crashing luxury cars to highly stressful corporate baseball auditions.
That's wild.
It is. And we're going to use all of that to understand what it actually tells us about our own waking struggles.
Because while the hyperspecifics of this dream are entirely unique to the author's life, the underlying themes are violently universal.
Absolutely. We're going to be exploring the subtle, everyday agonies of social anxiety, the desperate need for approval from our peers.
The paralyzing fear of making a public mistake.
Yeah, and strangely enough, the hidden comfort we sometimes find in following rigid rules. Okay, let's unpack this. Where exactly does this nocturnal odyssey begin?
Well, what's fascinating here is the foundational premise the author lays out before we even get into the plot of the dream itself.
Right, the framework.
Exactly. They establish that dreams are the mind's way of projecting abstract, formless emotions that we simply cannot articulate in our waking lives.
Into these highly visual, experiential narratives.
Right. And before detailing the dream, the author explicitly notes that in their waking life, they were currently struggling with an overwhelming sense of tension.
And a desperate desire to be recognized and valued.
Yeah, a concept the Japanese refer to as shonen yokyu.
Shonen yokyu, which translates roughly to the need for approval or validation, right?
That's right.
I want to pause on that term for a second. It's not just a casual desire for someone to like your Instagram post, is it?
No, not at all.
The source material frames it as something much heavier, like an existential need to have your worth confirmed by the external world.
Usually within a strict hierarchy.
Yeah.
It is the fundamental human drive to be seen, to be acknowledged as competent, and to have your place in the social fabric secured.
And the author acknowledges that this drive was causing them immense internal friction.
Right. So this entire dream, from the opening curtain to the final scene, operates as a massive tug-of-war.
Between two immense psychological forces.
Exactly. A crippling, paralyzing tension born of social anxiety and the euphoric release of finally achieving that validation.
So the mind is basically acting as an avant-garde movie director.
I love that analogy.
It's taking these abstract, heavy feelings of inadequacy and saying, all right, you aren't paying attention to this while you're awake.
How do I make this visceral?
Right. How do I make you feel this tension so acutely that you are forced to process it?
And the opening scene the director chooses to accomplish this is, well, it's a supermarket.
It starts in such a mundane, universally relatable place. The dreamer finds themselves at a large supermarket shopping with their sister.
And the source notes a very specific piece of waking life context here.
Yeah, this is important. The dreamer had recently been struggling with their relationship with alcohol.
They were thinking deeply about how they consume it, wrestling with some guilt, shame, or anxiety around their drinking habits.
So unsurprisingly, the dream drops them right into the alcohol aisle.
The subconscious rarely deals in subtlety when it comes to setting the initial stage.
No, it really doesn't.
It places the dreamer directly in the location that represents their current internal conflict. It's the brain's way of saying, here's the site of your current anxiety.
But if we look closely at the text, the true conflict in this scene isn't actually about the alcohol itself, is it?
Not at all. The alcohol is just the backdrop. The actual trauma of the scene is about the social dynamics happening in that aisle.
The clash of paces. This part really resonated with me.
Oh, me too.
I think it will resonate with you if you've ever tried to run errands with someone whose internal clock operates completely differently than yours.
It's so stressful.
It is. The sister's just flying through the aisle. She's rapidly filling her shopping basket, making decisions instantly. Bam, bam, bam.
And the dreamer is incredibly hesitant.
Yeah, they are standing there scanning the shelves, looking for their specific item, totally unable to match the sister's speed.
And the sister turns to them, holds up an item, and asks, is this okay?
And this seemingly innocuous question is where the psychological friction ignites.
The dreamer cannot bring themselves to just agree and move on.
They can't just say, yes, that's fine, and sacrifice their own preference just to keep the peace.
Right, to just match their sister's rapid pace.
But, crucially, they also lack the assertiveness to firmly state, no, I want something else. Please wait for me while I look.
They are trapped in a social paralysis.
Exactly. Instead of choosing either confrontation or total submission, they choose a middle ground of avoidance.
They say, I'm going to look a bit more, and they physically walk away.
Abandoning the sister and venturing deeper into the crowded, chaotic store.
It is such a specific, exhausting flavor of anxiety.
Think about the anxiety of walking in a busy city during rush hour.
Oh, yeah.
You desperately want to go at your own pace. You want to take your time, look at the storefronts.
Make your own choices.
Right. But you feel this immense, suffocating pressure from the speed of everyone else around you.
If you slow down, you're in the way.
And if you speed up, you lose yourself. The sister's rapid pace in the dream feels like an imposition on the dreamer's very identity.
If we look closely at the source text, the author reflects deeply on this exact feeling.
What do they say?
They write about how even in casual, loving interactions with family members, there is a constant, subtle battle.
Between what?
Between the desire to cherish your own pace and the ingrained societal urge to accommodate the other person.
Wow, that's heavy.
The crowded aisles of the supermarket in this dream represent the overwhelming noise and friction of daily life.
So the act of walking away into the crowd isn't a victory for the dreamer's autonomy.
No, not at all. It's a panicked escape that just leads to more anxiety.
They're dodging shopping carts, trying not to bump into people, feeling completely unmoored.
It perfectly encapsulates the profound exhaustion of just trying to exist as an individual within a society that refuses to stop moving.
It's the sheer caloric effort required by the brain to carve out a tiny space for what you want.
Exactly.
But the mind isn't done torturing them in the supermarket just yet, is it?
Oh, it gets worse.
The dreamer walks away, trying to find their own item, and they stumble upon a scene that the author explicitly states made their chest physically hurt just to witness.
It's a really tough scene.
They see a female store clerk, described as having a very dark, gloomy, exhausted expression, being viciously yelled at.
And the person doing the yelling isn't a disgruntled adult.
No, it's a bossy, bully-like kid.
The author uses the specific Japanese term gaki daisho,
which translates to something like a neighborhood bully or a tyrannical, entitled brat.
Right. And the imagery the subconscious has constructed here is incredibly stark and purposeful.
How so?
While you have a professional adult, a store clerk, who represents order, service, and adherence to societal rules,
Yeah.
and she is being subjected to a relentless stream of verbal abuse. The text translates it to something close to abusive language or tyrannical barking.
From a child who represents pure, unchecked entitlement and absolute chaos.
Exactly.
But wait, I have to push back on this a little bit. Why would the brain generate this?
What do you mean?
Well, the clerk's reaction is agonizing to read about. She doesn't defend herself. She doesn't walk away.
She doesn't tell the kid's parents.
Right. She just keeps bowing over and over, apologizing profusely, and telling the kid she will go look for his item.
It's hard to watch, even in a dream.
I read this and thought, why is the dreamer's mind forcing them to watch this depressing, deeply unfair scene right out of the gate?
It feels so needlessly punishing.
Yeah. If the subconscious is directing the movie, why is it making a movie that physically hurts the viewer?
That is a phenomenal question. It feels punishing because the brain is forcing the dreamer to confront a suppressed fear.
Okay, go on.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of the dreamer's mental state, the clerk represents a universal waking fear that clearly haunts the author.
The fear of doing everything right.
Yes, the fear of being perfectly polite, of fulfilling your societal role flawlessly, and still getting brutally punished by an inherently unfair world.
Wow, that makes so much sense.
The author notes that seeing this scene play out brought up feelings of intense anger, mixed with the profound, helpless sadness.
So the subconscious isn't torturing the dreamer for fun.
No, it is visualizing the crushing realization that sometimes playing by the rules, being the good person, offers absolutely zero protection from unreasonable, irrational people.
Okay, I see what you're saying. It sets a devastating psychological baseline for the rest of the dream.
It really does.
It establishes a world where you are either rushing to appease someone else's timeline, like the sister,
Or you are bowing to a literal tyrant, like the clerk.
you are trapped in a state of absolute helplessness, you are bound by social contracts that only seem to restrict you.
While others, like the bully just trample all over them without consequence. It creates a state of psychological suffocation. The dreamer is observing a dynamic where power is entirely diverse from fairness or morality.
The clerk is in the right, but she has no power.
And the child is entirely in the wrong, but holds all the power in the interaction simply by refusing to adhere to the social contract of politeness.
Man, for a dreamer who is already highly anxious about their own pace, their own desires, and their own place in the world, watching this clerk bow to a bully is a horrific confirmation of their worst fears about society.
It suggests that compliance only leads to subjugation.
Right, and you can't just stay in that suffocating state forever. The human brain, even in a REM sleep state, has a breaking point.
It has to release the pressure somehow.
It cannot just wallow in helpless victimhood indefinitely without waking the body up in a panic. So the dream executes this violent, massive pivot.
We go from the depressing, claustrophobic reality of a supermarket aisle to an absolute fantasy of ultimate control.
Exorbitant wealth and total unapologetic rule breaking.
This transition is fascinating. It's not just a random scene change. It is a classic subconscious defense mechanism in action.
Really? How so?
When the ego feels overly restricted, powerless, and threatened by the unfairness of the supermarket scene, it desperately needs to restore equilibrium.
So it swings the pendulum.
Exactly. To do that, it wildly overcompensates by generating a scenario of extreme agency and total liberation. It swings the pendulum as far in the opposite direction as possible.
And how does it achieve that swing? By bringing in the billionaires and the celebrities.
It's quite a shift.
The setting instantly morphs into what looks like a high-end, sprawling outlet mall. And the dreamer is suddenly standing there with Chihara Jr.
A very famous, veteran Japanese comedian.
Right. And then pulling up in a luxury car with a massive, reality-defying entourage of dozens of cars and people is Yusaku Maezawa.
The famous Japanese billionaire entrepreneur who literally went to space.
Yeah, that guy.
The choice of these specific cultural figures is highly symbolic.
In the landscape of the dreamer's mind, they aren't just celebrities making a cameo, are they?
No, they're deeply ingrained archetypes. The dreamer pays very close attention to how Chihara Jr. reacts to Maezawa's flashy, overwhelming arrival.
Yes, the source text points out something really specific here. Chihara Jr. does not react like a typical, loud, exaggerated television comedian.
He doesn't act shocked, he doesn't scream.
And he isn't overly impressed by the billionaire's wealth. Instead, he is incredibly calm.
He is deeply grounded.
Right, he praises the luxury car, but he does it with the quiet, unshakable confidence of an experienced veteran who has seen it all and cannot be intimidated.
That reaction is exactly what the dreamer craves on a cellular level.
That groundedness.
Yes. Chihara Jr. represents stability, composure, and a maturity that is completely unshaken by flashy, overwhelming external displays.
Because in the supermarket, the dreamer was easily rattled by their sister's pace.
And deeply disturbed by the loud child.
So Chihara Jr. is the psychological antidote to that fragility.
He is the embodiment of a mental armor that the dreamer desperately wishes they possess.
The ability to remain centered, calm, and autonomous, no matter how chaotic or intimidating the external environment becomes.
He is basically the cool, unfazed older brother the subconscious has conjured up to make the dreamer feel safe.
Which makes sense because things are about to get incredibly chaotic.
Very chaotic.
Maezawa, the billionaire, says, "I'll show you my house, follow me." And suddenly the dreamer is in the lead car of this massive convoy.
And for some reason, the dreamer is in the passenger seat with the camera mounted on the roof?
Yeah, filming backward, capturing Maezawa's car following them.
Notice the profound shift in perspective here.
They aren't helpless anymore.
Exactly. The dreamer is no longer just a passive, helpless observer hiding in a supermarket aisle.
They are now the literal lens through which this high-stakes narrative is being recorded.
They are positioned at the very front of the convoy, leading the billionaire.
It is a massive, sudden elevation in status and control within the dream's hierarchy. They are directing the gaze.
And what they are capturing on film is pure, unadulterated insanity.
It's wild. Maezawa's driving like a stuntman in a summer action blockbuster.
The text says he is blowing past pedestrians, sending people flying.
Which is a wild, violent escalation.
Yeah, he's sideswiping parked cars, just causing absolute vehicular mayhem.
And it culminates in this massive climax where Maezawa's car crashes head-on into a car coming out of a narrow side street.
And his luxury car literally drives up and over the hood of the other vehicle.
It is the total, spectacular destruction of the rules of the road.
Which, if you think about it, are some of the most rigid, universally agreed upon rules we adhere to in our daily lives.
Right. Maezawa is acting out the exact behavioral opposite of the store clerk.
The clerk followed all the rules meticulously and was punished with abuse.
While Maezawa breaks every conceivable rule, destroys property, creates physical chaos, and faces absolutely no immediate consequences.
So hold on, let me challenge this interpretation for a second.
Okay, go for it.
The author explicitly notes that watching this horrific crash, they didn't feel terror, they felt elation.
An incredible high.
Yeah. But a head-on collision usually symbolizes a fear of losing control or a subconscious anxiety about a looming disaster in your waking life.
That's true.
Why are we so sure this is a fantasy of invulnerability? Because watching a man destroy a car and potentially hurt people sounds like a nightmare, not a power fantasy.
That is a very fair challenge. On the surface, a car crash is a universal symbol of disaster.
Right.
But to understand why the dreamer felt elation rather than terror, we have to look closely at what happens immediately after the crash. The context dictates the meaning.
What happens?
Maezawa doesn't panic. He doesn't cower, he doesn't check for injuries, and he certainly doesn't bow and apologize like the clerk.
He steps out of the smoking wreckage, spreads his arms wide.
Looks directly into the camera that the dreamer is holding, and smiles.
He waves cheerfully.
Completely, utterly unfazed by the monumental disaster he just caused.
Wow. Okay, so he just completely owns the chaos.
He refuses to be a victim of his own mistake.
Exactly that. This is the crux of the fantasy. The crash isn't about a desire for physical violence or a death wish.
It is entirely about the reaction to failure.
The dreamer, as we know from the introduction, is obsessed with the paralyzing fear of making mistakes.
They are terrified of doing something wrong and being judged for it.
But here is this figure, this archetype of immense wealth and power, who creates a massive, undeniable, highly public disaster.
And he simply laughs it off with total, unshakable confidence.
It's the ultimate psychological armor.
It's the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card for your ego.
The subconscious is showing the dreamer a fantasy of absolute invulnerability.
The elation they feel comes from witnessing a reality where a massive mistake does not mean the end of the world.
It doesn't result in humiliation, it results in a smile.
The ability to smile through chaos, to remain completely unharmed by your own monumental errors, is something the dreamer desperately wants to emulate.
For a few fleeting moments in the dream, the ego gets to vicariously experience the sheer, intoxicating freedom of truly not caring what anyone thinks.
It is the ultimate release valve for all that pent-up tension.
But, as we all know from our own sleep, The mind rarely lets us stay in that state of consequence-free euphoria for long.
No, it never does. The psyche demands balance. The pendulum always swings back.
And boy, does it swing back hard in the next act of this dream.
It certainly does. The brain recognizes that this fantasy of total rule-breaking isn't a sustainable solution to the dreamer's actual waking problems.
So, right after this incredible high, this fantasy of invulnerability, the subconscious forces a brutal, sobering reality check
It violently rips the dreamer out of the chaotic freedom of the joyride.
and throws them into the most rigid, judgment-heavy, structured environment imaginable.
A massive corporate hierarchy. We go from the wide-open road to the suffocating interior of a 60-story skyscraper.
The setting is described as a massive corporate building, and the dreamer is suddenly an employee, placed high up in the upper floors.
And immediately, all that physical and emotional freedom is just gone, evaporated.
They're standing in a long hallway, lined up with a bunch of other employees.
Waiting in tense, breathless silence because the executives, the president, the department heads, are walking down the hall for an inspection.
The very architecture of the dream has changed to reflect a profound change in the psychological state.
A 60-story building is a towering, inescapable symbol of structure, hierarchy, and societal expectations.
The open, horizontal freedom of the road has been replaced by vertical, oppressive authority.
And the dreamer is no longer in the lead car dictating the pace.
No, they have been demoted back to just another anonymous face in a line of subordinates.
Think about the last time you were in a high-stakes corporate environment, or even just standing in line for inspection at a strict school.
You know that feeling where you are hyper-aware of your own breathing?
Yes, that's where the dreamer is. And then disaster strikes, but it's not a car crash.
It's the quietest, most internal disaster possible.
The dreamer accidentally steps one single foot out of the perfectly straight line. Just one foot.
And when they try to quickly step back to correct it, they can't.
The crowd of other employees behind them has subtly shifted, blocking their heel.
They are physically stuck, standing slightly out of formation as the highest executives in the company approach.
It is a brilliant, agonizing metaphor for the fear of standing out in a conformity-driven culture.
Especially within the context of traditional Japanese corporate culture, which the author is writing from.
Uniformity is safety. The mistake is physically minuscule, 1 foot out of line, but the internal emotional reaction is catastrophic.
The author describes it perfectly. They write about freezing from the premonition of failure even before failing.
It's a feeling we all know. It's like when you're presenting a huge project to your boss and you realize you loaded the wrong slide deck.
Oh, that's the worst.
Before anyone else even notices, before the boss even speaks, your brain just shuts down. For those 3 seconds, you just freeze. Your heart stops.
You are waiting for the world to end.
Exactly.
That phrase, freezing from the premonition of failure, perfectly captures the biological mechanics of modern social anxiety.
Because the actual consequences haven't happened yet.
Right. The executives haven't even seen the foot out of line, but the mind's threat detection system, the amygdala, doesn't know the difference between a social faux pas and a physical predator.
It has already triggered a full physiological freeze response.
The sympathetic nervous system is screaming danger, while the parasympathetic system is paralyzed.
And the sheer scale of the building, those 60 floors weighing down on them, represents the crushing weight of those societal expectations.
They are literally paralyzed by the anticipation of judgment.
And the dream, acting as this cruel director, doesn't let them off the hook. It elevates the pressure to an absurd degree.
Suddenly, the dreamer isn't just standing in line hoping not to be noticed.
No, they are thrust into a direct physical interaction with the absolute top of the hierarchy. They are tasked with giving the president of the company a shoulder massage.
Which is an incredibly intimate and high-stakes physical interaction.
The power dynamic is overwhelming.
You are a low-level employee, and you are literally holding the physical comfort and satisfaction of the highest authority figure in your hands.
It is a terrifying test of competence. But here is the truly agonizing twist. The dreamer has a secret weapon.
Oh, right. Earlier in the dream, during that celebrity phase, Chihara Jr. gave them a piece of inside information.
He leaned in and told the dreamer, the president likes to be massaged right at the base of the neck.
They literally have the cheat code to success in this scenario.
They know exactly what to do to win the approval, the shonen yokyu, that they are so desperate for.
And yet, despite having the exact answer key, they fail.
But it's vital to examine the mechanics of why they fail, because they don't just forget.
No, they rub the outside of the shoulders instead of the base of the neck. They completely miss the spot.
And the president gets furious. He gets up, completely displeased, radiating disappointment, and starts to walk away.
The dreamer panics, realizes their mistake, and scrambles to try and massage the base of the neck to fix it, but it's no use.
Someone coldly tells them it's too late.
Ooh.
Now, I have to ask, if the subconscious is writing this script, why does it sabotage the dreamer like this?
Why create a scenario where you possess the exact knowledge to succeed, but your body refuses to execute it?
Yeah, it seems so mean.
This raises a vital question about the nature of performance anxiety and how our bodies betray us under pressure.
This scene is a flawless depiction of what sports psychologists and neuroscientists call choking.
Choking isn't just failing because you lack skill.
Right.
It is a very specific phenomenon where you fail despite possessing the skill or knowledge to succeed, precisely because the psychological pressure of the moment disrupts your brain's ability to execute automated tasks.
So the knowledge is sitting right there in the brain, but the bridge to physical action just collapses under the weight of the moment.
Exactly. To get technical for a moment, the cognitive brain, the prefrontal cortex, which remembers Chihara Jr.'s advice, is overwhelmed and hijacked by the physiological panic response generated by the emotional brain.
The amygdala.
Yes. The dreamer is so terrified of making a mistake in front of the president that they become hyper-focused on the fear of failure rather than the mechanics of the task.
When you overthink a physical action under pressure, your body goes stiff, your physical awareness narrows.
And you default to a clumsy, generic action, in this case, clumsily rubbing the outside of the shoulders instead of the precise target.
And the emotional aftermath of that failure in the dream is so visceral.
The author writes about the lingering, heavy, suffocating regret.
The feeling of, I knew better, I had the information, and I still blew it.
That specific flavor of regret is exactly why the brain generated this scene. It perfectly mirrors how we ruminate on our daytime failures.
Think about it, when our heads hit the pillow at night, we don't usually obsess over things we had absolutely no chance of getting right.
We don't lose sleep over failing to perform brain surgery if we aren't surgeons.
Right. We obsess over the moments where we knew the right thing to say in a meeting, we knew the right action to take in an argument, but we froze.
We second-guess our own paralysis. The dream is forcing the author to sit in that exact feeling of missed opportunity and the bitter, unchangeable reality of, well, it's too late.
It's the ultimate feeling of powerlessness. You are trapped in the corporate machine, you've disappointed the ultimate boss, and there is no way to rewind the clock and fix it.
You are drowning in your own failure.
But just when the dreamer hits absolute rock bottom, when the emotional weight is at its heaviest and the anxiety is peaking, the dream shifts again.
And this time, it offers a bizarre, almost surreal chance at redemption.
The subconscious acts as a regulatory system. It realizes that the tension has reached a critical breaking point.
It must provide a release, a resolution, or the dreamer will likely wake up in a state of sheer panic, which defeats the purpose of restorative sleep.
So it constructs a new scenario that is completely absurd in its logic, yet perfectly designed to offer the exact type of validation the dreamer has been starved for.
The hyper-serious corporate building suddenly turns into a bizarre sports arena.
The dreamer looks out the window of the skyscraper, and a company-wide audition has begun.
Every single employee must step up to the plate and try to hit a home run.
And they're facing a youth baseball pitcher, a literal kid, but this kid is throwing impossibly fast pitches.
Notice the structural inversion happening here.
What do you mean?
Earlier in the supermarket, a kid, the bully, was the source of chaos and anxiety.
Oh, wow, yes.
Now, a kid is positioned as the obstacle, the ultimate gatekeeper to success. And the task itself, hitting a home run off a fastball, is a metaphor for a massive, sudden, highly visible, undeniable achievement.
It is the exact antithesis of the slow, grinding, silent anxiety of standing in line in the 60-story building.
It's a chance to be a hero in front of everyone.
So the dreamer steps up to the plate. And at first, it's just more failure. It's a continuation of the massage disaster.
They swing and miss repeatedly. The pitches are too fast.
They are backed into a corner. They have 2 strikes. They are down to their final swing.
The pressure is astronomical.
If they miss this, they fail the audition in front of the entire company, right after publicly failing the president.
But then a profound psychological shift occurs. It is the turning point of the entire dream, and arguably the most important insight in the author's reflection.
The author writes that with absolutely no options left, being completely cornered, The tension magically breaks.
The utter desperation actually clears their head.
They stop trying so hard. They take a relaxed, compact swing. They just let the bat meet the ball naturally.
And boom.
It's an 89-meter home run.
The psychological mechanics of this success are crucial to understand because they apply directly to our waking lives.
Why did they hit the home run on the last strike when the pressure was highest?
Because when we are pushed to our absolute limit, when we feel that the worst has already happened, they missed the previous pitches, they already ruined the massage, their reputation is already in tatters, the ego finally exhausts itself.
The part of us that is terrified of judgment simply runs out of energy and lets go.
It just surrenders to the moment.
Exactly. This is what athletes describe as a flow state.
The compact swing the author describes symbolizes stripping away the overthinking, the desperate striving, and the rigid physical tension that caused them to fail the massage.
By letting go of the desperate need to force a specific outcome, the dreamer finally accesses their true, natural capability.
The power of the home run doesn't come from swinging harder, it comes from the release of tension.
And the reaction to this home run in the dream is nothing short of euphoric.
The executives, the exact same people who were so intimidating and disappointed moments ago, are absolutely stunned.
They are jumping up, saying, "This has never happened in company history."
The umpires are amazed by the specific 89-meter distance.
The dreamer says they felt like an absolute, undeniable superstar.
It is the ultimate, concentrated injection of shonen yokyu, the complete and total satisfaction of the desire for external approval.
To put it in a waking life context, it's like if you completely bombed the first half of a massive presentation to the board of directors.
You are sweating, you lost your place, you look foolish.
But then, on the final slide, you deliver an insight so brilliant, so revolutionary, that the entire board stands up and starts clapping.
The contrast between the initial failure and the final victory makes the validation so much sweeter.
That contrast is the profound psychological mechanic at play.
The immense, godlike validation from the executives instantly overwrites the trauma of the massage failure.
It demonstrates how deeply human the need for approval truly is. We can be weighed down by weeks, months, or even years of self-doubt and anxiety, but a single, undeniable moment of recognition.
A metaphorical home run in front of the people we respect.
Exactly. It can act as a psychological panacea. It cures the anxiety, at least temporarily.
The dream is providing the dreamer with a massive concentrated dose of the exact feeling they are starving for in their waking life.
So what does this all mean? We've gone from the suffocating anxiety of a supermarket to vicarious billionaire joyrides to the crushing weight of corporate failure to the absolute peak of godlike validation.
It is a massive, exhausting emotional roller coaster.
After such extreme highs and lows, how does the mind possibly cool down? How do you transition a brain out of that heightened state of euphoria so it can actually rest?
Well, in this dream, the subconscious takes things quite literally. It goes to a hot spring.
The transition to the hot spring is a brilliant representation of psychological decompression.
After enduring the intense scrutiny of the corporate hierarchy and the explosive emotional release of the home run, the mind needs a liminal space.
A liminal space is a threshold, a place of transition and recovery, where the rules of the previous environment no longer apply, but you aren't quite back to reality yet.
The setting is incredibly specific and atmospheric.
The dreamer finds himself suddenly on the bottom floor of that same massive corporate building, but it has transformed into a traditional Japanese hot spring facility.
They are dressed in a yukata, the lightweight cotton robe.
The adrenaline is gone, and to exit this area, they encounter a very peculiar minor hurdle.
There is a glass door, and to get the proprietress, the woman running the front desk, to open it, you must use a specific password or phrase.
You have to say, "Are you visiting again?"
It is a ritualistic rule. It requires participation.
Exactly. And the dreamer knows this rule. But because they are so deeply relaxed, or maybe emotionally exhausted from the massive adrenaline dump of the home run, they zone out.
They treat the glass door like a modern automatic door at a grocery store.
Just standing in front of it blankly, waiting for it to open on its own.
The proprietress looks at them and scolds them mildly, saying, "You must follow the rules if you want me to open it."
This is a fascinating moment for analysis, because it presents a duality of rules within the same dream.
Earlier, the corporate rules, staying in a perfectly straight line, massaging the exact right millimeter of the neck, were terrifying.
They were sources of intense anxiety, paralysis, and failure.
But here, the rule of the hot spring operates entirely differently on the nervous system.
It doesn't feel oppressive. The author explicitly notes that being scolded by the proprietress here didn't induce panic or shame.
Right, because it provides a strange grounding comfort. The reprimand from the proprietress isn't a harsh judgment of the dreamer's character or competence.
It is a gentle reminder to stay present, to engage with the physical world.
It highlights a deeply comforting psychological truth. When we are exhausted, we tend to go on autopilot, drifting out of our bodies.
But small, predictable societal rituals, like greeting a shopkeeper, saying a specific phrase, or taking off your shoes before entering a room, actually give our minds a safe, familiar structure to rest within.
The rule at the hot spring isn't a weapon used to punish them, it's a boundary that creates a safe, predictable container for their recovery.
It's the profound difference between a rule that is designed to test your worth and a rule that is designed to guide your behavior safely.
And once they finally speak the phrase and get past the door, they step outside and encounter the final and perhaps most comforting element of the entire dream.
They run into two strangers.
Strangers who, in the strange, emotional logic of the dream, feel exactly like old friends.
Yes, the author describes them so clearly. One looks like a traditional Japanese high school baseball player, and the other is a fluent Japanese speaker named Boe, like the famous pop star, though the author notes it's just the name their brain assigned to her.
The dreamer has never met these people in real life.
But they recognize them from the baseball audition. And they don't celebrate the home run, they just strike up a casual conversation.
They look at each other and say, man, that audition was tough, huh?
The psychological relief of this specific scene cannot be overstated. I want you to consider the social interactions the dreamer has endured up to this point in the night.
They've all been completely hierarchical.
Every single one. They were subordinate to the rushing sister, utterly powerless against the screaming child, awestruck by the billionaire, terrified of the corporate executives, and deferential to the hot spring proprietress.
Every interaction was defined by a vertical power imbalance, a desperate need to please, or a fear of judgment.
But here, outside the hot spring, they are just equals. It's a horizontal relationship. I love this detail so much.
They don't know these people, but in the dream, it's like they've been buddies for years, complaining about a hard day at work over a beer.
It is the ultimate psychological decompression. There are no titles to uphold.
There are no expectations of performance. There is no need to prove their worth.
The shared trauma of the stressful audition instantly bonds them.
The dreamer is finally, for the first time all night, allowed to just exist.
To converse without the fear of stepping out of line, without the fear of missing the base of the neck, without needing to hit a home run to justify their presence.
It is the mind's way of assuring the dreamer that genuine connection and camaraderie are possible without the crushing weight of shonen yokyu.
Without needing to constantly perform for approval. It's just pure, uncomplicated human connection.
What an incredibly exhausting, beautiful journey for a single night's sleep.
When we synthesize all of this, when we look at the entire scope of this deep dive into the source material, it proves just how incredibly hard our minds are working behind the scenes.
While our bodies are paralyzed in REM sleep, our brains are working absolute overtime.
Running these incredibly complex, highly rendered, emotionally devastating simulations to help us process our deepest waking anxieties.
It's processing our desire to be loved, our paralyzing fear of being judged, and our daily struggle to perform under the crushing pressure of societal expectations.
It is a profound testament to the resilience and utility of the human psyche.
The mind doesn't just torment us with nightmares for no reason, it tests us.
It breaks us down in a safe environment, forces us to confront our deepest fears of failure, and then provides the exact scenario we need to build ourselves back up and find equilibrium.
And the author of this journal comes to a truly brilliant, unifying conclusion at the end of their reflection.
Looking back on the whole chaotic night, they realize that they shouldn't beat themselves up for being a nervous person in their waking life.
The core takeaway they arrive at is that tension isn't the enemy.
No, tension is the mechanism. As the author beautifully notes, the extreme tension they felt throughout the dream, the freezing in the hallway, the agonizing panic during the massage, was the necessary biological buildup to the swing.
Without the agonizing pressure, without the fear, the 89-meter home run wouldn't have had any power.
The release of the flow state is only euphoric because the constriction beforehand was so incredibly tight.
The anxiety isn't a character flaw, it is potential energy.
Energy that, when finally focused and released, allows for extraordinary achievement. The pressure is exactly what gives the home run its distance.
Absolutely.
So I want to leave you with this. The next time you wake up from one of these epic, exhausting, stressful, chaotic dreams, instead of just groaning, trying to shake it off, and burying it under the distraction of your morning commute, Ask yourself a question.
Is my subconscious just trying to torture me?
Or is it giving me a practice run? Is it intentionally pushing me to my absolute breaking limits in the safety of my sleep so that when I finally face the fastball in my waking life today, I'm finally ready to take the swing?
The mind prepares us in the dark for the reality it expects us to face in the light.
Something to think about the next time you close your eyes. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material and into the fascinating, exhausting world of the subconscious. Keep paying attention to the strange, brilliant stories your own mind is trying to tell you.